I'm Spencer.
And I'm Steve.
And this is our Stranger Things Season 2 recap, episode number 8, The Mind Flayer, and we're doing it in 11 minutes, and time starts now.
All right, so we just found out that Dart and his brothers are showing up at the Hawkins lab, and it is freaky as crap. They start banging their heads against the wall, and the doctors, who've never been wrong before, are like, it'll hold.
Right, it'll hold, and then next thing you know, they're going through that metal, door like you see on submarines, trying to, get away from these demi-dogs now, as they're calling them.
And they are just destroying, they are destroying everything and everybody in their path. It was a little gruesome.
It totally was, but, you realize, Mike realizes that Will, with his, true sight, he calls him the Mind Flayer, which is another, Dungeons and Dragons reference. He realizes that it's, this hive mind, and, he's able to kind of, let them know where things are going, right?
That's right. So they basically found out that Will is the spy, and he's been letting them know what they're doing and where they're going. So Joyce has this one scene where she says, "Who am I? Who am I?" And Will hesitates for 2 seconds. She just grabs a syringe and goes, sticks him, puts him to sleep.
Puts him to sleep.
That was a sweet scene.
Yeah, but doing that to your own kid, yikes! But you know what? With what she's been through, she's tough, right?
She's one tough cookie. She's had Bob.
Finally, in this episode, we finally see Max and Billy's parents. And, of course, right before this scene, you see Billy and he's he's working out and he's getting ready and he's putting hairspray. And then what was with him putting cologne on his junk?
Right.
That was so weird.
You mean you don't? Yeah, that was weird.
No.
His swag level is 100%, 110%. But you get the idea, obviously, that where Billy gets some of his anger issues and whatnot, and you get a sense of his stepmom and his dad's a D, and he's probably abusive and all the rest.
Okay, so here's this: because his dad's a D and probably abusive, does that make you feel any better about Billy?
Does that humanize him? Just a tad, because he starts to cry in the end. They say a tear. Do you see the tear?
Yeah, I don't care, man. Okay. He's still a D.
Okay.
Maybe it humanizes him a little bit, but
you're cold-hearted.
Not that much.
All right,
right.
So speaking of Max, so she is currently out in the woods with Lucas, Steve, and Dustin. So they're still looking for Dart, going through the woods against Steve's better judgment, probably. They go off the train tracks and start following the sound, and it ultimately leads them to the lab.
Right, because of course everything's going to lead back to the lab, right?
Everything leads back to Rome or the lab.
It's right. It's the source of everything. So what I thought was interesting is when they get there, Nancy and Jonathan pull up in the car.
Awkward.
And they're hey, who? They're yeah, who's that? And then out comes Steve and the kids. Dude, Steve is becoming this giving advice to
Mr.
Dustin.
Mom.
He's now the babysitter. Which is funny because earlier in the season, they watched Mr. Mom with Bob for a movie night
that's
with
right,
the Byers.
They do.
Dude, I love that movie.
Dude, Steve should just go back to all the parents at the end of this thing and be like, "Hey, hourly rate. Here we go. You owe me $350."
Okay, so the power goes out in the lab, right? And you've got Bob and Will and Mike and Joyce
and Dr. Owens,
Hopper and Dr. Owens, and then all these army guys. They're in there, and they realize that now the demi-dogs are running the place, and they're trying to they know they got to get out of there.
Oh, the demi-dogs, which have been coined by Dustin. The phrase demi-dog coined by Dustin.
Yeah, but in order to do that, they've got to go down into the basement. Okay, first of all, not a good place to need to go. Go down to the basement, reset the power, and then use computer hacking with BASIC, by the way, to do this. And of course, who's going to go? Bob the Brain, or as we can call him now, Bob Newby, superhero.
That's right. Which I love that scene, though, when Hopper's you know how to use this gun? He's it's probably easier than teaching you BASIC.
Right. I love it. He's point, squeeze, and he's pointing at Hopper, and Hopper's get it away from me.
Right, he pushes it away.
Come on, man.
Right. All right, so hats off though, man. Hats off to Bob. He freaking braves it. Not exactly the most athletic type, but he goes down, gets the power back on, resets the thing, and they're kind of being able to walk him through the halls with the cameras.
Right. And like they have to like put him into like the what guy was with the closet. And I was holding my breath during that. I was like, dude, I'm like, oh, come on. Don't keep going. And then of course, you know what's going to happen, right? Like at this point, I'm like, he's a nice guy. He's doing all these things. He's accepting. He's trying to help the boys. I was like, he got to die.
He's a side
He's
character.
Gotta die.
Yeah, he's like the guy with a yellow shirt in Star Trek. Like he's just made to die.
So when that demi-dog hits him and it opens up its mouth and then like another one jumps on
Well, I thought
his
for
chest.
sure. I thought for sure though, because Hopper has the machine gun. I thought for sure he'd be able to shoot him off, and then he was going to get him up, and they were all going to run out of the lab.
A single round from an AR-15 is not taking that thing down, man. It's just not. I'm just saying. So Bob gets eaten. Like they feast on his chest. It was.
Yeah,
There was a part where like gruesome, like really bad, but like his body's kind of moving a little bit. And I'm like, oh gosh,
blood all over his face.
He was such a nice
like,
guy.
You goonies!
But you know what though? His sacrifice did let everyone else get out of the lab.
That's right.
Except for Dr. Owens. Dr. Owens got stuck there.
Why did he stay? I mean, was it just to help Bob get out?
Yeah, because he was trying to help Bob get out.
My gosh. All right, so Hopper, Joyce, and Will, who is now asleep, go back to the Byers' house where they meet up with the whole crew. The whole crew's there.
Right, they all get in the cars and they go and
they try to figure out how to use Will to find out how to kill this thing.
Right.
So the Mind Flayer, it's all connected, like you said.
Yeah, they realize the Mind Flayer, so like they realize they have to put him in a place that Will doesn't know where it is, so he can't like signal to the demi-dogs like where to come. So like they go into the shed and they're like ripping all the stuff out, and like we get like a little montage of like them putting up like decorations, putting up all the cardboard and all
the tarps and like newspaper and duct tape and everything. And so they basically put Will in this seat, they tie him down, and then they shine these like halogen lights in his face. And they basically start questioning him.
They start asking him, like, I was like, man, I'm like, this looks like every spy movie I've ever seen, except it's this little kid. Like, how would you do that to your own boy? I mean, obviously, it's maybe not fully your own boy at this point.
Well, this part was kind of sweet, though, when they all start talking about, you remember when I bought you those crayons and all you wanted to do was color? I was so proud. And Jonathan was like, and we watch the movies and listen to music, the first time you ever listened to music. And I got to admit, okay, I'm going to admit this on Live Podcast Nation. I actually cried just like a few tears when Mike was like, I went to school the first day and I was so lonely. And then I saw you and I just went up to you and I asked you, do you want to be my friend? And you said yes.
Yeah.
It's like, that was the best decision I ever made. I was like,
yeah. And of course, like while all this is going on, like you think it's going to like snap him out of it. And he's like, no, I will tell you. You're like, oh no, it's, the thing's still in him. But of course, all of a sudden, he's like tapping on his chair. And like at first I was like, I don't get what's going on there. And then like as soon as like the camera kind of focused in on it, I was like, oh, it's the Morse code.
That's
because
right.
Hopper was using Morse code. Like that, like I totally had that call back to like him trying to talk to Elle and using the Morse code to let her know he was okay. Right.
And they're nerds, right? And they use walkie-talkies, so they gotta know Morse code.
And of course the message is close gate. And at first I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And then I'm guessing that that's going to reference the actual like rift or whatever that's in the lab.
Exactly. Now, when the phone rang in the Byers' house, did you just like tense up?
Oh, dude. Like I was on the edge. I was on the edge of my seat.
Because you see Will go, and he like turns and he's like, and they're like, do you think you heard that? It could have been any phone.
And then his eyes start like flickering. And I'm like, no, the dogs. And then of course, like as that's like happening, like you start hearing the sounds of the dogs like coming, and so like they all show like everyone
circle the wagons, get inside the house, and it's what's really cool is Hopper's got the gun. He's like, who knows how to use this thing? And Nancy's like, I do. So he like throws the gun to Nancy.
Doesn't even question it. Like, what is wrong with this town? Like, no parents, adults boozing up kids and letting them have sex in their place, giving them guns,
high-powered
to, like,
rifles.
Shoot these, like alien dogs. I mean,
so there's this moment. I love this moment. So they're all in the house. They got the guns pointed towards the window. You hear that the house is being surrounded by all these demi-dogs, right? You just hear it. And suddenly, out of nowhere, the dog comes through the window, but it's dead.
Yeah, it's not moving at all. And then you hear like all these other like noises, and then like it goes deathly quiet. I'm really super tense. And of course, then what happens is like you see the lock on the door move on its own and open, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna get 11.
That's right. Freaking 11 Bad A Terminator 2 style.
Dude.
Judgment Day comes in, black leather, shadowed eyes. That was an awesome scene.
She walks in, and I'm super happy, and like you see the recognition on everyone's face, but it's that for me, it's this moment where like Mike's kind of like towards the back of the group, and he kind of like pushes his way to the front of the group, and like his eyes just lock with Eleven's eyes. It's like he has known that she's out there. He hasn't given up on her this entire time.
Right.
And he sees her, and it's just this moment of like, just pure awesomeness.
Yeah,
right?
that awesome exchange of like, I never gave up. I called you every single day. She's like, I heard you 351 days. Yeah, dude, that was awesome.
And we're out of time. Let's go watch that last one, man.
Let's bring it home, man. This is the end, guys. This is the end.